Welcome to Mr. Hooper's School of Magic. This is Unit 4, Notes 2, Factoring Trinomials. Learning target, I can factor a trinomial. So, this is the other way to factor trinomials, right? So we're moving forward from the grouping, and we're going to do it another way. So here's a couple problems where we're going to review grouping, and we're going to show you a new way to do it. So this is 5y, remember GCF. The second GCF is 4, so I'm going to have 5y, and I'm going to do y minus 3, because these y's cancel, 4's cancel, so plus 4 is my GCF, y minus 3. So in the past, we would write 5y plus 4, y minus 3. Okay? Then we go to 2, all right? So this is a little bit tricky. They have minus 3x here. I'm going to write it as plus a negative 3x. Okay? So what I would do is I would look at 18x squared. I'd take out 6x. All right? And here I'd just take out a 1. So that when I did this, the GCF is 6x. That leaves 1x cancels, and 18 divided by 6 is 3, minus 30 divided by 6 is 5, and the x's cancel. I would say it's plus now 1. Because my GCF is 1, this would be a negative 3x plus 5. Okay? Now, here's where an example where my leftovers don't match here. So one way I could do it, and very sneakily I know how to change this, okay, is I'm going to do just this grouping here. Okay? One way to do this is to look at this and say it's 1 and negative 1. So I'm going to do this as negative 1 so that I have a positive out here. So I'm going to say it's plus a negative 1, and then it's going to be a positive 3x minus 5. So that would be understanding the negative 1 part and switching those signs around is going to make you understand that it's 6x minus 1 and 3x minus 5. So I got those middles to reciprocate. Now that's kind of confusing, so there's going to be another way to do it. So let's look at this. So steps for factoring. We're going to check for a GCF, which I didn't do in the other two, but that's fine. Multiply a times c. So these are equations. ax squared plus bx plus c. And you're going to need to know that that's standard form. Put ac on the top of x, b on the bottom. Find two numbers that multiply to ac and add to b. Split the b term into two new factors from x. Factor by grouping. So you still factor by grouping, but this is going to tell you what the GCF and how to split those. So if I went like this, 5's prime, 6 isn't, but we're going to have you make an x. So 5 times 6, okay, is going to be 30. And then b is 13. So in the past, if I go back to, in the past up here, notice how the y's were split. Okay. When we move forward now, the y's aren't split. So when you get to this is a good indicator that you're going to have to factor a trinomial. And I would use the x method. So what multiplies, I'll show you this. Multiply a times c. So I did, that other problem is 5 squared plus 13x plus 6. So I did 5 times 6. That's 30. Put ac on the top of the x. B on the bottom. So I did that. I have 30 over 13 right now. 30, 13. Find two numbers that multiply to AC. So what multiplies the 30? I know 1 and 2. So 10 and 15. Or 5 and 6. 5 and 6 add up to 11. Or 3 and 10. So I could show you. 1 and 30. 2 and 15. 3 and 10, okay, 5 and 6. So when I add 1 and 30, that's 31. When I add 2 and 15, that's 17. So I don't want any of those. 3 and 10 add up to 13, and 5 and 6 is only 11. Okay, so it's going to be 3 and 10. Then it says split the b term into two new factors. So what it is this is 10 and 3. So I replace 13 with what I have right here. This is going to be replaced. So I would rewrite this as 5x squared plus 10x plus 3x. So notice I have the 10 first, the 3 second, plus 6. Now, this is where I have two middles, right? So I have the ability to group this now. So I would just group this and group this. This is going to be 5x. This is going to be 5x. GCF here is 3 and 3. So then I'm going to have 5x. All the 5's cancel. One of the x's is gone. So x plus x's are gone. 2 plus GCF is 3. X left plus 2. So 5x plus 3, x plus 2. So you need to have the understanding that's what you're looking for. So we have to do the stuff in red to be able to do our grouping. So you're doing the X method every single time to split this up to be able to group. So when I come over here, I'm not going to bounce back and forth. I'm just going to show you. I'd make an X. 7 and 4 is 28 and 29. Then I'd write down 1, 2, 14, 28, 4 and 7. So 4 and 7 add up to 11. So that's not it. 2 and 14 add up to 16. That's not it. 1 and 28 adds up to 29. So I know that I need 1 and 28 here. So what I would do is replace 28, or 1 and 28 for 29. So I'd write 7x squared. And it doesn't matter which one you use first, but I usually just write left to right. So I'm going to write 1x plus 28x plus 4. Group these together. This one only has an x. This one has a 4. So then I'm going to have GCF is x, 7x plus 1, plus GCF is 4, 7x plus 1. So I'm going to have x plus 4, 7x plus 1. And so that is why we do that. I don't know what I mean by that. You have to split the 29 into two numbers so that we can use grouping to solve. So you're using the blue or the X method to be able to group. So Unit 1, Notes 1 was all grouping and factoring. Now we got to do the X method to be able to group. So let's run through a few of these. Here we just have 1 and 16. So I would have wrote 16 up here, and I need it to be a negative 10. Okay, so that's going to be a little bit more difficult because one of the numbers is going to have to be negative. And in fact, in both of these, they're both negative. So I'm using the top of my head. They got to both be negative. So I'm going to look at it as negative 2 and 16. Negative 2 and negative 16 add up to negative 18. Negative 2 and negative 8. So I'm looking at that as negative 2 and negative 8 are both going to add up to negative 10. So if you're confused by how I got negative 2 and negative 8, come ask. So I would do x squared minus 2x minus 8x plus 16. And this is a good one. So I would have done plus a negative again so that I can see GCS x. So I know right now I'm going to have x minus 2. So how would I get this to be x minus 2? By dividing by a negative 8. Okay, so I could have minus 8 here, and that would give me this 8 crosses off a positive x minus a negative 2. So I have x minus 8, comma, x minus 2. Here's a fun fact for you. I shouldn't show you this, but I'm going to. All this grouping is obsolete because minus 2 minus 8 is what you're going to be able to do. So when this GCF here, or this A is just 1, you can write down what your x values are. For example, this GCF is 1, so I could do 1 times negative 18 is negative 18, and then I need a negative 7. Well, to me, that tells me 9 and 2. Okay, because 3 and 6 isn't going to work. And then it's a negative 7, so I need a negative 9 plus 2 to equal that. Now, if I did my factoring by grouping, I'd have x squared minus 9x plus 2x minus 18. I group these, I divide by 2, divide by x, divide by x. This is going to be x times x minus 9. And then this is going to be plus 2 times x minus 9. So now I have x plus 2, x minus 9. Well, where have I seen plus 2 minus 9 before? Right here. So I can assume this is a positive, this is a negative, x minus 9, x plus 2. Now, I showed you a shortcut right here. However, this only works when it's a 1x squared, right? On the other two examples, here we had a 5x squared and a 7x squared. So then it's not going to work. So when I get to this page, for 7, I can't do the shortcut. For 8, however, I can. So I would do 7 first. I have 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. Well, I know to get negative 12 and a positive 11, it's going to be a positive 12 and a negative 1. So then I would have to come out here. I'd do 3x squared plus 12x minus 1x minus 4. Group this. I get 3x, 3x. Group this. Negative 1, negative 1. Now, GCF was 3x, x plus 4. X is canceled. 12 divided by 3 is 4. So my GCF now is negative 1. This creates a positive x. Negative 4 divided by negative 1 is a positive 4. So now my middles match. And that's a tricky one with that. So 3x minus 1 and x plus 4. Notice, I want you to notice, this is minus 1 plus 4. That is completely different than what I had here. So if you do that, you're going to get that wrong. However, for this one, it's a 1x, so I'm already happy. 2 and 3. 2 times 1 is a positive 3. So I know this answer is going to be x plus 2, x plus 1. And I'm done. Awesome. I think divide out GCF first, factor the remaining expression, write GCF followed by factors. So here's one thing. So I like when it's got a 1 in front of it. Right here, okay, I could divide by 10. 10 doesn't work. Bummer. Alright, we're going to have to settle for a smaller number. We're going to go with 5. Okay, so now I'd have 5. I'm going to have a 2y squared minus 7y plus 6 left over. So now what I would do is I'd come over here. 6 times 2 is 12, negative 7. Both need to be negative here because it's a plus. Whenever it's a plus 6, they both got to be positive or both negative. So I'm going to go with negative 4, negative 3. Negative times a negative is a positive, and they add to negative 7. So I'm going to replace this with 2y squared. I have minus 4y minus 3y plus 6. Okay, now let's group a little bit. Divide by 2y, divide by 2y. Alright, and then I'm going to have to divide this by negative 3, because I'm foreshadowing a little bit. So this is going to be 5. You can make big brackets if you want to. It's going to be 2y, cancel, 1 remaining, so y, minus cancel, 2, minus 3, times negatives cancel, y, minus 2. So all of this is going to be 5, which was what I divided by at the beginning. Y minus 2, 2y minus 3. Okay. Also, remember, what we replaced here, -4 and -3, are nothing to do with down here. So I would be very careful. So you got to include this whole thing in your answer. All right, and 2 of them are like this on your quiz, so you got to be able to do that. Fun fact for you, 3 goes into all of them. So we're going to go with 3 times x squared plus 8x plus 15. Now this is one I like to do, because for the remainder here, this inside, I can do this, 15 and 8. What multiplies together there to give me a positive 15 and 8? So it's going to be 2 positive numbers. I know 3 and 5 work. So 3 plus 5 is 8, and 3 times 5 is going to work. Now, my GCF, we made my GCF be 1 here. So actually, all I need to do is write 3 times x. This is a positive 3, so plus 3, plus 5. And so these, in red, is my final answer. So if we can skip the grouping, let's skip the grouping. But you guys got to have some number sense and be able to divide that by GCF to get 1. You always want this to be run 1, right here. Right here. If you can make this beginning start with a 1, do it. That's going to be the easiest way to do the problem. So just always look for that, no matter what they give you. 11 I don't like because 6, 5, and 6. 5's prime. That's not going to work. 12 we're going to be able to take out a 2, but that's not much fun either. So I would do 6 and 6, negative 36. Actually, 9 and 4 popped into my head right away. So 9 and 4. So this is a positive 5. So I need to know negative 4. So then I'm going to write 6x squared plus 9x plus 4x minus 6. This one's not too bad for grouping. This is going to be 3x, 3x, 2, 2, 3x. 6 divided by 3 is 2. I got 1x left over, plus 3, plus 2x, minus 3. Uh-oh. What did I do wrong? So I see a mistake. My mistake is right here. This is a negative 4, so I need to make it a negative 4. Do I want a negative 2 here? No, so I should make this negative, negative. So this is a minus 2. I didn't even write my 2. And this is a plus 3. So good catch on my part, because the best answer here, in my opinion, is 3x minus 2, 2x plus 3. Like anything else, if you find a mistake in the notes, let me know. For right now, that's probably going to have to be Ellie since she's the farthest ahead. Now, we have 6x squared minus 14x minus 12. I would divide by 2, divide by 2, divide by 2. Okay, so 2, I'm going to get a different color here. This is 2 times 3x squared minus 7x minus 6. Okay, 3 and 6 is negative 18 and negative 7. We had this example. It's going to be a negative 9 and a positive 2, though, this time, because it's got to add up to negative 7. So I might write something like 3x squared minus 9x plus 2x minus 6. Here I would say this is 3x and 3x. Here is 2 and 2. So this is going to be 3x with an x minus 3. Those cancel. Plus 2 times x minus 3. So this is 3x plus 2 times x minus 3. Now, real quick, I have this 2 that I dropped off. If you don't have that 2, that's going to be 1 off on your test. So good thing I remembered to place it back in there. So make sure you're getting these answers all the way through. Right? You have to be able to give me those circled answers. Obviously, your work needs to be shown. Right? There's not a kid in here that can do them in their head. I can't do them in my head. You can't. All right. So thanks for listening. I know this one maybe got a little long, but we can do better. Good luck.